And doing great as we get here, ready to get started doing what we do best, putting the work in, going ahead and toiling the soil, and then collecting the fruits. Guys, this should look like a real breakout to you. We've seen many times in the past where we have these mega candles. We don't have to go back too far to find one over here. Look at this candle over here, 10% candle, faded, taking out a low. I could find another one pretty quickly, I'm sure. Right here is another one. You can see over here, mega 13% candle, and then once again, faded. Is this a trap being set? And is it a bull or a bear trap? I think we're going to start hearing a lot of things like oh, in March we normally get some rallies that are faded, or let's look at the macro though. Let's just jump in and look at macro. By the way, as we saw today, something seems different. $4.2 billion of Bitcoin purchased this morning. That does not seem like retail. I'm interested to see tomorrow what the ETF flows in. They have been pretty strong over the last 10 days or so. And we're talking about $1.7 billion of inflows. I think we get a big day today with the candle and the price action that we're seeing. Just as we're here, we're looking at basically gold and silver holding steady, 83 and 51. And I want to jump over here and I said, let's look at the macro and talk about a couple of things that's happening today. And number one, we had the ISM services, not manufacturer, but services. US is a service economy coming in blockbuster. The highest since 2022, 56. That's showing signs of acceleration. We're also looking at the better than expected non-farm employment change. Obviously, on Friday, we got non-farm payroll, and forecast is for 58,000 jobs to have been added. I think what we're seeing, and I think we're spot on at the low of the hoopla. I'd be like, nah, I think the job market's going to stabilize, and it has stabilized so far. And we're seeing PMIs, both manufacturing and services, moving up. We were looking at that place where the hard data and soft data were meeting, and that was and since then we've seen a significant improvement in the hard data. It looks like that we are headed towards a reacceleration, and we continue muddling along right now until we are able to get there. We got obviously enormous unknown risks hanging over the market right now. Markets absorbed one of them today, though, by the way, pretty well. We saw that not too long ago. Treasury Secretary Bessent says that the 15% global tariffs do start this week. And markets kind of took a little bit of a, like a, I don't even know what to call it. Let's go to a small time frame. We'll go to a 2-minute time frame over here. And Bessent comes out and says it. Markets pull back a little bit and seem to be stabilizing so far. So obviously that's one risk, and the bigger risk was, hey, what happens when the Supreme Court it ultimately rules on the tariffs? Markets seem to be kind of shaking all of that off. Then we have obviously war, and war is absolutely horrific. Markets rallying on overnight on supposedly a report that through back channels, Iran's intelligence service reached out to the CIA, and they've since come out and denied that. Markets did not sell off on the denial. They've actually been able to consolidate gains. This is not a Bitcoin event that we're seeing today. At the same time, we are seeing some Bitcoin centric things take place. What is that? We're seeing, first of all, a bunch of buying is taking place. And again, that's not retail. Retail is it's a bear market. What we're seeing is the Clarity Act on the verge of being passed. And if that does happen, that is absolutely massive clarity. Pun. No pun intended. I was just going off the name. Sometimes those names are opposites, but in this case, it does bring clarity for the banking space. And we saw also some pretty weird signs. First of all, I want to just jump back to this. CFTC, this is yesterday on the 3rd. They were saying that the U.S. plans to approve crypto perpetual futures within the next month. That's exciting to me. And the more perpetual futures offered within the US, the more competition, the lower fees. Oh man, V4 going to be roaring. And then you see Kraken. Obviously, you're all aware of this. Just want to put one nuance to it. Kraken becomes the first crypto firm to win access to the Fed's core payment system. And then you see the difference here is that basically they'll be able to move money on the same rails as bank and credit unions use, right? The approval will enable them to handle transactions more quickly and seamlessly for big clients and professional traders, as it would have access to FedWire, which, guys, people talk about CBDCs and stable coins, and FedWire was basically the central choke point for all transactions in the US. It's basically CBDs that were introduced, and that's going back, I think, like 5 years ago. Um, Here's the thing, though. The difference is that traditional banks, they won't earn interest on reserves or be able to tap into the Fed's emergency landing. Nevertheless, huge news over here. Yesterday, I put out something in the session. I'm not sure if you heard it or not, but I said that, listen, uh, unless unless the U.S. Treasury ensures shipments going through the strait that Iran had closed down, which is 20% of the hypolitical, here we go. Hitting on this a little right now. He said that I said unless they get the U.S. Treasury to back the insurance, we could see a massive breakout ahead on oil. And he did that day. It wasn't the Treasury, but he ordered the USDFC to provide insurance and guarantees for all trade, especially energy, traveling through the Gulf. They're now sending the Navy to go ahead and to escort those ships. And probably more important, though, you're looking at, by the way, Goldman, never trust the central bank, says they expect that flows to restart 5 days from now and normalize within 4 weeks. But here's the thing. Whether that means that Trump's insurance escort plan works or China, which today is sending a diplomatic delegation to the Gulf to convince Iran to unblock the strait, manages to convince Iran to resume flows is unclear. Or if it's a combination of the two, right? And I just I usually shave once a week, you know. We were up in the mountains last week though, so it's growing a little long here, but I like it. um So it seems that between China and the US looking to make sure that flows resume, that likely the upside is going to be capped on oil. That's quite the word. And obviously, this is such a crazy situation. We don't know what is going to happen next. We looked at this guy over here, right? Leopold. And remember, we watched the YouTube video. I was like, I'd never seen someone so smart in my life. The way that he's able to process information, the way that this is the guy that was like, it was so fun to watch. It was like these two incredibly intellectual giants dorking out with each other and providing a massive amount of information. And he's getting a lot of hype right now. And I want to jump in on. He turned $200 million into, what's he up to, $5.5 billion in 12 months. Man, this guy he goes all in. He goes all in. And you remember I remember we've been looking at Bloom Energy over here, and I'm like, this has gotten away. It's gotten away. It's gotten away. And let me go to the energy over here, and I'm like, man, we were looking at it in 2026, and I'm like, man, it's just gotten away. It was probably Leopold. The reason people are understanding what happened is from, I believe, the fourth quarter, his positioning in 2025, and my man is absolutely all over it. And what could you do here? These are like portable generators for AI centers. I don't know. Sometimes you just, by the way, you see my whole block trade over here and versus IBIT up 7% today, but you're seeing the outperformance on block. Plus, don't forget, it's the 36% yearly dividend as well. If this does, I think the timing just might have been, let's say, truly legend though. And look how big he goes. Man, by the way, he's got CoreWeave, massive position. CoreWeave just announced another deal today. I think like up 11%. He went with the whole Intel over Nvidia. I'm not sure if that works out. And weren't we looking at this LITE? Isn't this the company that oh, this is calls, and then he's got shares. So massive positioning into CoreWeave. Over 20% of his portfolio. My man goes big, breaking all the rules and outperforming everyone. Isn't LITE? Is LITE that company that is doing the optical arrays for these data centers? Let me just pull it over here. I know we were talking about that yesterday. Nope, that wasn't it. It wasn't. I don't think it was. I genuinely don't think it was. By the way, which brings up, and let me just jump over here before we get into our positioning and whatnot. Is LITE? It was LITE. Ah, Dogination. I don't know where you're at. Is that Dogination by a different name? I try to keep it until I got like an event to go to or something. So inspired by Dogination and by Cabby over here. Hold up, let me bring it up over here. And Cabby's like, listen, I think we need to evolve the Discord a bit. I think we need a research better than cash on sale now channels. And at the top, we need to pin the stocks we're looking at, as we need to encourage the team to do research and share findings with the community. We also need the dashboard update with the V4 goodness. Love that over here. It's become stale. I also think that while I know the audience is all over the world, look, Cabby, we're like 50% US centric, probably 25, 30% European, and then we are all over the world. But yeah, this would be fine. Strategy sections for retirement accounts, Roth IRA, RAs, education savings, blah blah blah. And these are strategies that we could discuss to fit when we are not in Bitcoin or a downward sideways market. A lot of great messaging over here, and I'm all about it. And I'm going to be engaging. And one of the things that got to start. I knew it was Dog Nation. I'm all over you. This is inspired by Dog. And if I run into any help, I know Dog Nation will be able to boom. But I just like took a second, put this into Claude. Claude's like, yeah, I could do that. We'll find out. He's like, yeah, but you should have done that in co-work. I'll try to. Anyway, I think that obviously, and Dog Nation did offer to step in, even though he was in the midst of building something else. And yeah, first of all, I think that we have a lot of templates, and those templates are going to stay because they're all good, and you have the discretion to use what you want, but we could clean it up, right? On the main dashboard, my opinion, it should be the V4 templates. But I think we should also have a buy side boost. Well, that's tough. I don't know how to, it's impossible to code in the logic of buy side, which is why we can't automate it. But we could show the positioning on buy side boost, have a separate dashboard for buy side boost, all session periods, and then Don's 6 hour. And then for equities, and I think we dropped the 1 hours, just keep it smooth on the daily templates. But I will be working on that. This is going to be the higher priority, Cabby, and then I'll work my way down into those new channels. And then I'm going to have to go ahead and launch some type of AI agent in order to go ahead and be able to, you can interact in the Discord. You can be like, well, what about Light? Is it overvalued here? What's go? Leopold, he owns it. The Nvidia just purchased it, and then we could have the agent go ahead and do that research. So yeah, and that gives me a chance then to kind of dig into all of these AI tools that I've been really following very closely and start implementing them. So I like that direction a lot, and that's where we're gonna have to be going. Great. So what's going on? Is the CTM? I don't know. Is the CTM Fed playbook playing out over here? And after they began the balance sheet expansion, taking several weeks once again to stabilize, it seems to be more going on than that, in so much as that, you know what, go back to 2019, the last time this was happening in this playbook, you weren't seeing, let's say, first the Genius Act, followed by the Clarity Act, followed by the way, do you see Coinbase just launched 24/7 stock trading, and NASDAQ being like, giving them the nod, way to innovate. That's coming everywhere. Future traders, they're about to launch this summer CME single stock futures on single stocks. Single stock futures on single stocks. Huh. How does Oracle look? Oracle looks like a bet, man. I don't know. I mean, we were looking at some names. So here, I'm glad you said that. And I think Jay Core, this is something that I like Cabby's ideas, and I think it's great. I find a way to implement it. But what I think, like a play like Oracle, and guys, yesterday I was very clear. I'm like, all right, I'm buying the Mag 7. I don't know if that's the right thing to do. I think these high yield dividend things, there's massive risk. They could just, erode the NAV. The ones that I looked at don't seem to be doing that. And I wonder, anyway, um, I was talking about though that even though these things have corrected, let's say 20% on average, Mag 7, like I showed you 2022 bear market, and if markets were to go into a bear market, there's tremendous more downside that's there. And I think a play like this on Oracle, I would like a channel on leaps. I think that's the way to be speculating in long-term call options over here. I think that's the way to play this thing. There was another one. It wasn't just Oracle that looked like it was inviting. Maybe it was. Let me just go ahead really quickly through the list. Seeing something about the big print. It might have been EOS. Yes. I think EOS, Oracle right now, those look like leap plays to me. I would like to get a channel and slowly build in some type of discretionary action for some stock traders in there. Block is in XY. No, there's a video, and it's not too long ago, on the channel where I talked about why I was taking an investment, and do not follow me in blocks. BLOX. And BLOX is the Nicholas crypto income. Basically, it's got a position with using options against Bitcoin, against Ethereum, and then things like Iron and Nvidia, and it seeks to capture more upside, or I believe it's going to capture more upside than IBIT, as well as a limited downside. And here you're not looking at dividends reinvested. If I show you, like, this is off the downtrend from the high that Bitcoin made, the high that IBIT made, and the high that Block made. And you could see the difference is minimal, but there's a difference there. It was able to, instead of a 43% drawdown, have less of a drawdown. My whole premise is that, and here you could see, since the inception of the ETF, you could see with the dividends reinvested, you're looking at, I've been down 35%. And this has a 36% yearly dividend, and it's massively cut out that drawdown. So I think on the downside, and here it is on the upside, tremendously outperforming, because it's got not just Bitcoin, but Ethereum and the likes that we mentioned in the video. I went over every holding, their top holdings. So let's pretend that this is not the bear market that everyone's looking for. Let's pretend that we're able to I think it's a bit of a I don't know what's going to happen here with this major war going on with Iran, and I mean the odds of a quick resolution, I don't know. And if this thing goes on beyond 4 or 5 weeks, like was alluded to, like then things could get really bad. That could definitely happen. Um, Especially if oil were to trade above 100 for an extended period of time. That we don't know what's going to happen in the future. But like if we're able to hit my macro thesis this year and we do see liquidity coming in, even as like I get it. I know the experts, cross-border capital, Michael Howell telling you liquidity's going out. And I'm like, I don't know. Seems to me that liquidity here is going to stabilize, and we're about to see a major turn. I'm not going to get into it now because leading up to it, I spent a lot of time developing that thesis with you. And as the balance sheet begins to run over here, we're seeing the hard data definitely point to the direction that I want to see. And if we are able to reaccelerate at that point, yeah, and then you can incorporate the whole business cycle of which I've always endorsed those that have embraced it. Like Decoder was the first one that I really know of, that I've shared his work. And then you have others that like Stimson, who have recently taken up the torch. And then like I think even Tech Dev, without being maybe so forthright with how he was developing the business cycle, same premise. And a combination of these two things. And if we do see, you know, Bitcoin not only recovering and then into over the next 12 months really beginning to rip, and at that point this investment I think is going to be a lot more attractive than holding IBIT, because I think my premise is that it's going to outperform on the upside, and then on top of that be paying that 36% dividend. But yeah, that's metals are hanging in there. EOS and Oracle look to me like leap plays here, and I think that's the way to go about it. Um, so we have a lot going on. We've spent a lot today covering, but we have now Bitcoin entering a long trade following a mega candle. By the way, I think this is also worthy over here some really good insight that needs to be shared more and more. Brian's like, look, I don't know. We have a potential entry in a few hours on Ethereum. He's talking about Don's buy side boost here on the 6 hour, which trades once a day. And Don is like, listen, my bias has been proven wrong so many times. I trust the mechanical edge more than my own. Others see this strong move as bottom marking. Maybe they're right this time. Even if that's true, even if we're putting in a bottom over here, it doesn't mean that we're not gonna we're not gonna retrace down further and continue to make this bottom and carve out this bottom. I don't know whether like what happens first, a move into the mega resistance or a move back into this trend line, which is established over here. Both those things could happen, and that could mean getting chopped up in some positioning along the way, which is fine because that's exactly what how our strategy is developed. It's there to take small losses, bigger gains, and over time be able to compound those gains. So it usually you're a lot better off, right? You have to trust that edge. You have to have time with it to see and to know, and it's gonna come. By the way, micro strategy, formerly strategy, looking here to enter long. Saylor's pretty close back to his dollar cost basis on Bitcoin. I think it's 75,000. Man, if Bitcoin trades up just above that, man, imagine the relief he's going to have waking up that morning having his espresso. So we got MicroStrategy pending long over here. And then we have on buy side boost, developed, architected by the legend Phoenix Fire. And we have Bitcoin long, enter long pending on Ethereum. And then over here we have both. Remember we said yesterday, it looks like Solana's bottoming as well. Ethereum and Solana looking here for a long triggering over here. Huge edge. Michelle, an enormous, huge edge. Yes. I don't think buy side boost. Well, right now it can't be. What? You've automated buy side boost with OpenClaw? Wow. Could I get a look at that logic? I'm not going to be able to do that myself, but I would like to be able to work towards it. It's amazing. Mind blowing. Mind blowing. All right, y'all. Clean, short, sweet, beautiful. I'm looking here to just jump back over, get over, see what's going on. Bitcoin up 7% on the session. You gotta love it. Everything's in the green here. And don't forget, pray for peace. In the buy side boost channel, it would be awesome if you were to go ahead and open up a thread, and then we'll go ahead and pin that thread. But that would be very, very, very interesting for other people to get a look at. Everyone, God bless you. Have a beautiful day. I'll see you all back on the inside. The metals are just consolidating. Yeah, we can. They're like, so you see Ethereum, and it is consolidating. I don't know if this is a little high. It's just, this is structure, so it's hard. It's going to be throughout. Yeah, I mean, a break below here, and then I would be looking to, that would be for me a breakdown that's ensuing. We have, this is where, again, this is structure, so it kind of comes throughout. But you have the test here, and then the retest here, and then test it a couple of times. Obviously, it could just even come down one further, and then I would have, obviously, where you're wrong on that, on a break for silver. And then let's take a look at gold, what's happening over here. It seems like very similar. You know, the whole Iran thing, you would expect that gold would be really ripping, but obviously what we saw is maybe this puts a dent in China's uh, Belt and Road, and a major let's say friend that they had in the Middle East, and maybe that's why we're seeing a little bit of weakening of gold over here, or maybe we're seeing the gold bull markets lead into the Bitcoin bull market. That's what the data suggests, and and if so, expectations would be that gold goes into not so much a bear market, but a prolonged drawdown consolidation. All right, y'all. I'll see you tomorrow.